Hey everybody, Casey here, still in Monterey, California. And today I have part two of my conversation at the Organic Produce Summit with Abhi Ramesh, the founder and CEO of Misfits Market, Daniel Bell, Director of Produce with Grocery Outlet, and Sonya Constable, who's the Vice President of Produce with Sprouts. Enjoy. So obviously we have a lot of grower packer suppliers in the audience. So I'm just curious, this is an opportunity, I think, to share maybe some certain things with them. How do you think you could all work better with that community to be better partners and to be better for the consumer? Daniel, start.
I think it all goes back to communication, having the open lines with the grower packer shippers, being proactive, trying to get in front of things rather than be reactive and wait till it's too late. You know, we're all great at trying to sell things on Fridays when you're stuck with it and decisions have already been made. Just trying to get out ahead of the curve, you know, and communicating that to the retailers. Being aggressive on the organic side would be a great piece. I don't think we've done that as an industry per se, as much as we do on the conventional side. You don't see organic-led ads out there on the retail side because the pricing and the aggressiveness a lot of times isn't there from the grower packer shippers to partner in something like that. But I think that's the biggest thing, is just open the lines of communication better.
How often do you lead with organic products in your ads?
We just did it for the 4th of July ad. We led with organic blueberries and organic strawberries. We've got 3 big organic items on our ad that just broke Wednesday. So we're trying to do it as often as possible.
Sonya.
So we do lead with organic because our consumer is heavy on the organic side of things. I would agree with you though, it's the communication. So we need to have better lines of communication further out, where yes, we know that we have to be flexible when we're in season. We all know that, but we need to be sharing our strategies. So, you know, what is Sprouts doing 3 to 5 years from now? What am I thinking about? Where am I growing and developing? Where am I opening stores? I need to be having those conversations with my growers now so that we can make sure that we have the right amount of supply and that we're able to fulfill the needs. And I need to understand what my growers are doing from an innovation standpoint. Where are they going to be focusing their time and energy, whether it's the conventional or the organic? We need to make sure that we're in lockstep so that we can grow this business together and we can do a better job showing up for the customer together.
Can you give me an example, and you can be as specific or non-specific as you want to be, of a time where you learned something from a grower supplier packer on a Friday and then sort of went, God, if we'd only known that on Monday, we could have dealt with the situation. Daniel, you're laughing over there. So I'll get to you on this. Sonya, can you give me an example?
Yeah, I would say, you know, a recent example for us is 4th of July and corn. So we found out very late that we had some quality issues going into a big weekend when it comes to that particular commodity, and we didn't show it for the customer the way that we could have. So if we had known that 3-4 days earlier, we could have done something different from a partnership standpoint and made sure that we delivered what we needed to for the customer. So that's just one example of we need to talk, and we need to talk as early as we can.
Daniel.
Yeah, I mean, for all the farmers out there, you guys are so good at what you do. You know when the product is coming on. You know when it's going to be there. You know what you're going to have to flush when it flushes. Being proactive about it and coming to us as a retailer on a Tuesday, Wednesday, is going to get you a better return. It's going to put you in a better position for us to be able to move on it versus waiting till the weekend when we've already pretty much set what we're doing and going into the weekend and into the next week. It's a better way for everybody. And I know it kind of goes against things to take a little bit less early so you get more later, but it's such a big part of what we do on our side, being able to be reactive. You know, I can give you an offer on something on Friday, but chances are you're really not going to like it, especially if it's a dated item, because I'm not going to get it in stores till Monday or Tuesday the next week. If I get that offer on, say, a Tuesday or a Wednesday, I can give you an offer then. We can work with our partners to get a truck on it that day and get it into the stores right away. So you're going to get a better return on it. I'm going to get a better return on it. The consumer's going to get a better product, and it's a win-win for everybody.
So we've now established Tuesday's the new Friday.
Right.
Your business model's different. So talk a little bit about how you think you could work better with grower packer shippers to be more effective.
I'll talk about maybe something it's adjacent to communication, which I think there is a massive storytelling opportunity that we are currently missing out on. And we're trying to do more of it at Misfits, but the broccoli example I gave, that's like, tip of the iceberg. The amount of knowledge that is in this room and the growers and packers have on organic produce in general, why organic growing is different from conventional growing. And I was with the wonderful team from Lakeside that I see up here yesterday, and there was a tremendous amount that I learned about organic harvest and growing yesterday. The consumer doesn't know any of that. They don't. That's the reality. There's maybe a small group of diehard organic buyers who are early in the organic movement who know some of it, but the vast majority of folks don't. And we've seen, even on our end, we've seen folks who are like, I only want to buy organic. They'll go buy, order online. They'll get maybe one small bug in their box, and they'll freak out about it, right? And it's like, why do I have it? It's like, well, you're buying organic, right? It's like, it's sort of part of it, but they don't understand that. And it's not their fault. It's just that the education hasn't happened. And I think I'm giving an example of organic storytelling. Then you have sort of the food waste storytelling as well, right? Hey, there's like spinach that's a little bit too big, and so we're selling it as an opportunistic buy. The broccoli example, you have a lettuce with some scarring on it. You have kale with discoloration. One of our big priorities at Misfits is to figure out a way to get these opportunities from the growers and packers, get it on our site and sell it to the customer, but also to tell the stories, because I think those are stories that consumer needs to hear because they want to hear it, but that's what's going to move units and get sales, and also sort of allow us to go tackle this huge food waste problem that we're trying to tackle at a much larger scale.
So I'm curious, give me one thing that growers, suppliers don't understand about your business.
I think for us, there are unique elements of the kind of direct-to-consumer e-commerce model that make certain things tricky. So I'll give you kind of the quick obvious one is when a customer orders from us, they're not going to a store and putting it in their cart and taking it out. We are packing it into a box, which means and that box then goes on either a FedEx truck or one of our trucks. It's jostled around a bunch before it gets to the customer. So, unlike sort of traditional produce retail, there are certain packaging requirements and things that we have to think about, because, a delicate clamshell of raspberries is super hard to get to the customer, and same thing with like case sizes and things like that. Another example that's popped up recently is for us to sell items, especially produce items, where the counts can vary dramatically. Is super tough, because we're not selling by pound. We're not actually weighing things before we put it into a box. The customer's buying X units of something and paying for it. So if X units could be 3 pounds or 6 pounds, they're going to be upset if they underbought or overbought. So those are some slight nuances about kind of this e-commerce model where we're not necessarily selling it by weight sometimes, and then it's going into a box and getting shipped to someone. That means there are packaging requirements and case and unit requirements are a little bit different.
Sonya, one thing that they should know, they don't know about your business, they should.
Yeah, so I would say for us, it's as we grow as a retailer out in the market, yes, we have contracted prices, yes, we have all of those things, and it's important for us to have a great national assortment. However, we still are small enough and we're still nimble enough to be able to send something that if you've got enough inventory for 3 stores, let's ship it to 3 stores and see how it does. We have the flexibility to do some of those spot buys. We have the flexibility to chase after some small things, test some small things with you guys. So, when you have those opportunities, don't look at us as a big retailer. Look at us as a small farmer's market and someone who does have the flexibility to try new things and do different things with you.
Daniel.
I think you can trust us with your product and your labels. We're a discount retailer. It says outlet on the front of the building. It's come a long way in my 13 years. A lot of the companies have put a lot of effort and pride into their business, and the business has grown and evolved and changed for us. Most everybody trusts us with their product. There's still some out there, but you can actually trust us with your brands. We handle your brands with respect. Your labels, the effort you put into building that label means something to us at Grocery Outlet. We respect what you've done, and we try to honor it in what we do and how we present it to the consumers.
Explain that to me a little bit. What does it mean when they don't, if they don't think you respect their brand? What does that mean exactly?
Obviously, a lot of companies put a lot of effort to build their brand, their label, their name. And when dealing with outlet stores, discount retailers, there's a stigma there. And it's well-deserved in a lot of cases. You know, we deserved it at one point. But we've come a long way, so that stigma is now, should be gone, and hopefully is gone, that you can sell it to us and know that we're gonna have, it's not gonna wind up on a pallet out of refrigeration stuck out in the front of the store.
Gotcha.
You know, if it's a salad and it's a temperature-controlled environment.
So it's people who won't sell to you because they're concerned. Okay, gotcha. Okay, so what?
Go ahead. One more thought on this question, which I think, you know, for growers and packers out there, you have, I'm speaking on behalf of like maybe all three of us, but you have three retailers here that think differently about produce, in my opinion. And so I would encourage everyone, if there are opportunities out there that you're seeing where you're like, hey, here's like a unique inefficiency on the field, and my other alternative is to maybe like leave it there, not harvest it, come to us, right? Like worst case scenarios will be like, oh, we maybe can't do it. But in reality, you know, we're probably going to play ball, because one of the key sort of tenets that we're thinking about here is like, we're trying to think about the industry differently. We're trying to make impact by doing things differently. And so, you know, if there are problems that you're facing, if there's inefficiencies that you're seeing in the way you're growing, harvesting, packing, we want to be your partners. So come to us, and I think that's probably, you're looking at three retailers here that are going to think about things a lot differently than the really, really big players in the space.
It may just come back to effective storytelling, but is there something about growers' businesses, and this is, I'm painting with a broad brush here, that you'd like to understand better, that you think they if they just explained it to you, things would create both opportunities and eliminate inefficiencies? Daniel.
Yeah, I just think the education, again, the story is I love going on field tours. I love going to packing sheds. I love meeting people and being a part of all that. I think it's the education piece. Invite your retailers to your facilities. Give them tours. Show them what it means to go to field, to pack it, to pick it, to harvest it, the whole thing, so that we know more about your business, what you're doing, what goes into it. And then when we get it on our side, we can understand and appreciate that better on how we do things. You know, it's easy as a retailer to sit back and say, okay, well, I can do this, I need this, and go with it, but not understanding the whole field to fork part. The consumer's the same way. They have no clue about any of that. You know, we live in the most fertile state in the country. We grow all this food here, and I was talking with a grower down in Oceanside earlier this year. Your consumers that live right next door to you have no concept who you are and what you do, and what goes into you getting your product to their tables. And we're watching these guys that they bring in from another country literally go down the row hand planting these tomato plants. And the consumers have no idea why the tomatoes cost a little bit more this year. And that's the part of the education process that as an industry, we need to get out there and get in front of the consumers for us to remain healthy, period.
Sonya.
I think for me, it's what are you excited about, and where's the innovation coming from? Because, you know, as I get out there with the growing partners and learn about what you're doing, there's so much passion and so much knowledge and so much excitement that you guys have about your product. Share that with us, because we get excited about it too. So, you know, as I go out there and I'm at, you know, a stone tree grower and learning about the innovation that they're bringing to the market with flavor and color and size and shape, and you know, those are the things that I can share with my consumers. So understanding where you're going is really important for us as we think about our long-term partnership and how we show up together for the consumer.
Abhi.
Understanding your pain points and inefficiencies. Right, like what's going on? You know, are there particular crops where you have, you know, much lower yield for some reason? Are there you know, aesthetic issues that you're dealing with that you know that are not allowing you to sell to traditional retailers? I think we want to get in there and understand the pain points, understand inefficiencies, because that's our business. You know, our core business is trying to figure out what those inefficiencies are that growers have, and then how we can essentially go and still buy that product and get it to the customer. So understanding that, I think, is probably the thing I'm most curious and interested in.
I want to do we don't have a ton of time left, so I want to do a little bit of a lightning round here. Talk a little bit about controlled environment agriculture and the impact that it's having on your businesses and also in terms of the organic footprint. How is that affecting your business, Sonya?
So I would say for us, we're still in a learning phase. So we're learning right along with our growers. There's some commodities that it's working and we're understanding. There's others that it's going to take some time, and it's going to take the growers really educating us on how it works and how we can make sure that we're delivering still the same quality of product to the consumer that we are as if it's grown out in the field.
Abhi.
I think similar reaction. I think we're willing to sort of be guinea pigs and test and sort of also understand like what the consumers are thinking about this as well. I think there's still probably a lot of experimentation to be done on like, quality, longevity, pricing strategy on some of this, like all of that, which I'm sure you guys echo as well. So we're willing to experiment, but I think it's still it's early days.
But by the way, a great storytelling opportunity as
Definitely.
it involves. Daniel.
Yeah, I think that there's a lot of great products out there right now. I think in some of the commodities that they're trying to get into, it's very expensive and probably not a long-term solution. It might be a regional spot type of thing. But there's definitely some great products coming out of it now that we definitely partner up and sell. I don't think it's a viable long-term solution in some of the things, but I think it's definitely a way to augment supply and keep product out there in certain areas.
Okay. Inflation, recession. The inflation numbers seem to be coming down. If we have a recession, it looks like it's going to be short and shallow. And yet there's a big recessionary mindset out there on the part of a lot of Americans. Talk very quickly about the impact that inflation has had on your businesses and what you're doing to kind of gird for that going forward. Daniel.
It's made us be better on our side and sharper on how we go to business. We're actually dealing with deflation in some commodities and fighting that, as I'm sure everybody else is here too. Cherries is one area right now. So just trying to balance that out and then trying to maintain that value statement that we have in our stores. It's been a challenge. We've tried different things we wouldn't normally do. But for us, it's about the value statement and watching what everybody else is doing and then trying to be good students of the industry before we go to market.
Sonya.
So I think for us, it's the understanding that the consumer still needs to feed their family. And so, yes, they have a limited pocketbook now, and there is an element of them making choices. And in some places, they're making a choice that they can no longer afford convenience. And they're trading out of some of the convenience items and into some of the bulk items. So we're having to kind of ebb and flow and learn and watch as the consumer is moving to the different commodities based on what they're able to afford. But my job and our job is to still be able to deliver them healthy, fresh produce for their families so they can still deliver on that lifestyle choice.
Abhi.
I think I would echo that. We have a more value-conscious consumer now, right? I think their excess savings from post-COVID era is down pretty dramatically. You have like student loan repayments, which are restarting shortly, and in general, like a more stressed consumer. So I think that the trade downs, the focus on value packs, the focus on, now I actually want to save the $10, $15 a week that I maybe didn't care about 2 years ago. That is a lot more top of mind for consumers. So I think the value piece is critical.
So there was a story last week that started this way. The Globe set a record for the warmest June since at least 1940. New and emerging climate data shows obliterating the previous milestone from 2019. The Globe set a new single-day record for the hottest day yet measured on July 3rd, and then did it again on the 4th. So, to what degree, no pun intended, do you think this is going to have an impact on availability of product, quality of product going forward? And are you actively preparing your businesses for the fact that what's going on out there, and you said it was 115 when you left home, what impact that's going to have on your businesses going forward? Abhi.
Huge impact, and again, like I was with another grower a couple of days ago in near Fresno, and luckily managed to make it out before it was 112 degrees, but I think it was like 103 degrees that day. It's too hot for me. And you see it, right? You see both that high temperature, but also the fact that we were talking about this earlier, started off cooler and sort of ramped up those high temperatures very quickly. That is impacting yields, that is impacting scarring and discoloration on commodities. So I think it will impact availability, but the flip side to that is, I'll go back to the kind of like inefficiency storytelling piece. I think we can still sell a lot of this product. I think it's a question of getting out in front of the consumer early, telling the story, and actually kind of, and we can move that. But I think we have to do that pretty quickly to be able to do that effectively.
Yeah, I think 103 may be too hot for you, but I think it's supposed to be 97 in Philadelphia this weekend. So
I'm staying here for another couple days.
Sonya.
So I would say, the same thing is, yes, it's going to have an impact. Like I said before, I can't control Mother Nature. What I can control, though, is the story I tell my consumer and the fact that they still have to feed their families. And so I think that's where the communication back and forth really comes into play, is understanding the yields, understanding what is available so that we can guide the consumer to the right place, and we can make sure that we're still providing fresh produce for the customer so that they can still feed their families. We have to make sure that Mother Nature is, in some regards, it's our problem on our end, and the consumer has to be the one that we're helping navigate through it, and we're helping them to get to what they need for their families.
That is such a smart thing to say, because I think you're absolutely right. I think education is really, really important. But if education is just telling the consumer these are our problems, you're going to lose the consumer, right? Mm-hmm. All of your jobs is to help the consumer solve their problems, and you can educate them about what's going on in the background, right, and what's affecting yield and prices and things like that. But if it ever veers into, you guys should really feel sorry for us, you'll lose the consumer, right? Daniel.
Yeah, it's obviously very real. We've all been looking at crops that were late coming on because of cooler weather. Still some being delayed because of cooler weather. It's starting to warm up finally. It's something that, as a retailer, you have to be ready to bridge that gap, knowing that the consumer now expects things at certain times of the year and availability on everything all the time. So you have to be willing to say, stick with Mexican grapes maybe a little bit longer as the California season is delayed coming on, or stick with something, push berries stronger when the stone fruit season is delayed like it has been here before it sizes up and comes on. So as a retailer, you have to be willing to commit to these things, have them up front, and maybe be a little sharper on your retails to get the consumers to buy it and go in that direction.
Yeah. So we have just, go ahead.
I was going to say, you reminded me, there's also a broader story that we can tell the customer as well, the consumer as well on, these high temperatures, right? It's connected to the climate crisis that we're in, right? And that's a problem that everyone can get behind. And we know that every consumer out there cares deeply about both the food waste sustainability problem, but also how that connects to the climate problem. And so, we at Misfits tell the story often of look, food that goes to landfills creates methane gas. Methane gas is 50 times worse than carbon dioxide because of its molecular composition. It retains heat in the atmosphere more. And so if you buy this food and keep it from going to the landfill and do things that are more efficient, you are keeping that methane gas out of the environment. So I think there's kind of the micro stories to tell on, hey, here's why this broccoli, you should buy and high temperatures. Then there's the macro story of look, we're in a climate crisis. We need everyone to step up, and consumers are a huge part of that equation.
I heard a scientist on TV last night saying, that people are referring to what we're going all through right now in terms of the climate and all the problems that are happening, whether it's in Phoenix or Vermont or whatever it happens to be. And they said, everybody's referring to it as the new normal. And he goes, the problem is 10 years from now, we may look it back as this as being the good old days. Yeah. So that's the challenge. Okay, we have about 2 minutes left, so I very quickly want you to prognosticate a little bit, which is very hard to do. But I'm curious, as you kind of look out 5 years, okay, is there a fundamental way that you think your business may be different 5 years from now, number one? And number two, when we all gather in this room for OPS 2028, and I really hope it's as cool out and beautiful as it is today, what do you think what are the issues you think we'll all be dealing with? Your business in 5 years, and what's the big issue that'll be on this industry's mind in 5 years?
Hopefully they're tied, and I think there's a scale. I think we'll be in 5 years a lot bigger, selling a lot more product, hopefully a lot more organic produce as well.
Can I stop you for a second? Because
Yes.
I don't think I did this in the beginning.
Yeah.
How big are you? How many states are you in? How big is your business? So they understand.
Yeah, so we serve all, or 48 lower states, so we don't ship to Alaska, Hawaii, but 48 lower states, every zip code in all of those states. We launched in 2015, so been around for about 5.5 years now. We serve a few 100,000 customers on a monthly basis.
So bigger for you is not geographic, it's deeper. It's a bigger footprint in
Correct.
that. Okay.
Yeah,
So,
and it's expanding assortment, expanding SKU count, and in general, sort of getting more people on board with our mission of limiting food waste and creating access from that. And so, I think we view as we're tiny in the space. We're new. We've been around for 5 years. So hopefully we grow, and in 5 years we come back, and the limiting factor is like we can't sell enough. We're sales are through the roof, and we're a lot bigger. And so we're coming to all of you guys and saying like, how do we get more product from all of you?
okay, I want to drink what you're drinking. Sonya.
So for us, we're also growing quickly. So we're looking at about 30 new stores a year coming up over the next 5 years. So a lot of growth.
So you're 150 stores bigger in 5 years.
Yes.
How many are you now?
So we are just under 400 stores right
Okay.
now. So we're growing fast, and we're going to continue to grow. But what I would say for us is we're going to stay nimble. So we're going to grow, we're going to get bigger, but we're going to have the flexibility to make sure that we can still, bring something into 10 stores, do something that's, a really great spot buy opportunity. If I look to the future for us, though, is we're going to continue to expand organics. Our customer expects that from us. Our customer wants us to have the freshest organic product out there, and they want us to have it at a great value. And so that's something that we're going to continue to push, whether it's on a local front or a national stage. And then I would also say we're going to spend a lot of time listening to the customer. If you ask what this is going to look like in 5 years, the customer is going to tell us where to go. And so we need to make sure that we are listening and we're moving and we're growing the direction the customer wants us to. Because like I said before, they're voting, and they're voting loud for how they want to deliver product to their shelves.
Memo to Matt, maybe one of these years we ought to do a consumer panel here and talk to consumers about what they're expecting. Daniel, bring us home.
Hopefully I still have the same hairline. Keep my fingers crossed for that. Hopefully we'll be a lot closer to 1,000 stores. Hopefully our produce sections inside our stores will continue to grow, and we'll get a bigger piece of the store as we continue to drive penetration on total store. Hopefully our organic sales continue to grow in high double digits, and we keep building that consumer base, and hopefully we find a way to take plastic out of the packaging and have a better alternative out there for everybody.
And what's the big thing we're going to be talking about here at OPS 2028?
My amazing hairline and how I look as young then as I do now.
Okay, we've established what your priority is. So listen, I think there's a lot of common themes that have come out today, but a lot of this is about education. A lot about this is about storytelling. It's storytelling from the packer growers to the retailer. It's working together to do storytelling to the consumer. And I'll come back to the line I used before. If there are natural limitations on every business in the room, if all you are is a source of product. But if you are a resource for each other and ultimately a resource to the consumer, I think that's the thing that's going to drive organics. It's going to drive the businesses in general. And so then hopefully 5 years from now, when we're back talking in this room, we're talking about a business that has grown enormously since we were here in 2023. Join me in giving our panel a great round of applause.